Tonight, the president says Motown should be Joetown as his motorcade makes its way to the Motor City.
Well, I tell you what.
We love you.
Well, thank you. I love you back.
A visit to a key swing state he's hoping to keep blue as he faces more Democratic defections in Congress, as well as a conspiracy theory being floated by a right-wing think tank. We're diving into his visit and talking to Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, one of his fiercest allies, as we cover people, power, and politics. This is The Pulse. It may be a lazy Friday for you. It's not here in the world of politics. It is a robust one. Happy Friday as we dive into a major day of politics here in Michigan in this monumental presidential race. I'm Roop Raj. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. Okay, it's been a whirlwind 24 hours for President Biden. First, that primetime news conference in Washington. That was Thursday night, followed by a visit to our state. Tonight, talking to a 1,000-person thick crowd in Detroit. He was fiery, he was articulate, and he was on the offense against Donald Trump. More on today's speech, but I want to know from you. This show is all about people before pundits. We say that every night. It's true. Has President Biden changed any minds about his campaign in the last few days? And what does he still need to do? Here now, a pulse check.
For me, it helped his campaign in that it solidified my confidence in his cabinet and that he surrounds himself with scientific professionals as opposed to money-driven politicians that have gotten in the business just to keep and create and benefit from the other candidates' policies.
I think just his passion and commitment to hearing the constituents and doing everything he can to help our country.
Yeah,
and I still believe in him.
I would like to pay more attention to what he's saying than like just his appearance, but if he looks good and speaks well, I would say that he's doing a good job and it's good for the presidency candidacy and to be a president.
We've seen 4 years. We know what's going on. We've seen 4 years of the other guy too.
Yeah.
We know what's going on.
Is there anything?
We have two different choices, but we're stuck with these two.
All right, if you want to know how high stakes this was, Nielsen says there were more than 24 million viewers who actually watched that speech on the convention floor in Washington on Thursday. And if you're one of them, you'll remember that he spoke pretty clearly on foreign policy, but he also had these two gaffes that had many of you talking.
President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President,
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
I know he called Kamala Harris Trump there. Not ideal, but he had a much better night tonight. In just a few seconds here, you're going to hear some of his comments. But we did want to check in with a clinical psychologist, Dr. Rose Moten, no stranger to this show. And while she made it really clear that she can't diagnose the president since she doesn't treat him, here are some thoughts from a therapist. Take a listen.
I think it's very important for us to really have this conversation and dialogue and try to explore what's really going on here. We cannot ignore what we're seeing. I think we've had too much of that in our country and other areas, and it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. This is for the country that we're looking at. This is, who gets in office is going to shape, as many people are saying now, generations to come, not just the next 4 years, but generations to come. So there is valid reason for us to be concerned.
I think I drained my battery twice today, texting and calling people out in Washington, also here in Michigan. I also told you I have some sources in Washington. They tell me that there were some very honest conversations that were happening with the president just before yesterday's briefing. More of those conversations happening today. But then everything kind of takes a change. Every day is different. 2 strong speeches later, are those cries waning? Let's talk about today. President Biden touched down at DTW late this afternoon, getting off those steps, greeting the mayor, greeting all of these people at this restaurant out in Northville, where he talked a little bit about the age issue. Take a listen.
I know, hopefully with a little bit of age comes a little bit of wisdom. And hopefully that in this moment, I think the alternative is not much of an alternative. I do think ethics matter. I do think think decency matters. I do think we should reflect that we're an optimistic, we're a decent, we're an honorable country.
All right, you heard him there. Maybe a little more subdued, but wait until you see him at Renaissance High School in Detroit. This was pretty incredible. Biden quadrupled down on the fact he's staying in the race. He also spent a lot of time reeling on his opponent, former President Trump, even going so far as to say that Trump can't be elected and it would only happen over his dead body. He got a lot of cheers for that, including, though, chants of this frequently heard at Trump rallies. Take a listen.
We're going to say who he is, what he intends to do. Donald Trump is a convicted criminal. He was convicted by a jury of his peers of 34 felonies for paying hush money to a porn star and hiding from voters in 2016. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual assault by a judge who told us not to be fooled by Trump's brushing it off.
In case you couldn't understand what the chants were in the background, lock him up, they were yelling. Remember that when Trump did that with Hillary Clinton? He also talked to a key group here in Metro Detroit, unions, Biden did, and he reminded them he was the one who stood by them. Take a listen.
When labor does well, everybody does well. That's not my program. I came to Michigan to walk that picket line. I stood shoulder to shoulder with the United Auto Workers, the greatest auto workers in the world. And I want you to know, I promise you, I give my word to Biden, I'll always have your back because you've always had mine.
Ardent Democrats aren't going to like what I'm going to say next, but this visit comes at a really tough time for the president's support among some Democrats. You see, one Democratic senator and 16 House Democrats have called for the president to simply step out of the race. Those are numbers that are hard to push back against. That includes West Michigan Congresswoman Hillary Scholten. And celebrities who once supported him are chiming in as well, and they're not very supportive, George Clooney being one of them. You know what? Many of them are saying he just shouldn't run. Take a listen.
We can never stand behind a president who pursues genocide and bloodshed and looks at us in silence.
We will not support him no matter what. Even if he's called for ceasefire, we will not support him. We feel betrayed. They took our vote, Biden took our vote, and he just stabbed us in the back.
From celebrities in Hollywood to everyday good people here in Metro Detroit. That group, known as the Abandoned Biden Group, was out in full force ahead of his visit today. They're frustrated with what they say is Biden's lack of urgency for ending the Israel-Hamas war, which so far has killed tens of thousands in Gaza. The group put itself on the map by voting uncommitted during the primary. I think the number was more than 100,000 people in Michigan voting uncommitted. Dearborn, home to America's largest group of Arab American citizens, helped Biden carry the state in 2020. What'll happen next? There's no other show that's on anywhere right now, by the way, and I'll say that focuses so much on you, our Fox 2 viewers. I get a lot of mail, and I read almost all of it. In fact, I got this email from a viewer named John today saying that I really need to start talking to people about this question. He wants to know, hey, put real people on the show, not politicians who only care about themselves, and ask people, is their life better now versus when Trump was in office? So guess what, John? I decided to go out and ask that very question using my phone. Here's what I found. All right, we got Christy here. Christy, the economy, better now under Biden or better under Trump?
The economy for me, because I'm a professional realtor, it was much better 4 years ago. I wouldn't say because of Trump, but because it was a better economy. Things were lower, the interest rates, everything was, you could live. Now we're in a situation where nobody can barely buy groceries or gas. So to say if it was better now, no, it's not.
Issa is here now. Economy, you're a business guy. Is the economy better under Biden right now, or was it better 4 years ago under Trump?
It's better before Biden.
James here in Oak Park. Is your life better off under Biden's economy or Trump's economy?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say under Trump, but then he inherited from Obama, so I can't really say if up under his term as it was better because he inherited from Obama.
James Brown, compared to how you felt when Trump was in office, economically speaking, not about these presidents, but were you better off under Trump or under Biden?
I think just looking at the kitchen table issues, as they said, gas was cheaper. I think there was a little bit more in terms of the food costs being less. So I'm not even talking about the president, whatever president. I mean, just in terms of how much things cost with each president, I think it was better under Trump.
All right, so there you have it. Voters that I talked to saying the economy was better under Trump than Biden. Again, talking more about the situation, not as much about the person in office. But if you see me walking around town and you see me with my cell phone, if you want to chat, let me know what you think. I'm open to your opinions. But there's an important election story we need to tell you about. Remember the deep dive we did this week into Project 2025? The brainchild of right-wing think tank Heritage Foundation. It pitches an overhaul of the federal government. Well, that same group is pushing a conspiracy theory that President Biden could try to keep the White House, quote, by force if he loses the election. This goes against what the president has said, where he's pledged to accept the results, win or lose. It's employing a technique former President Trump has used to cast doubt on the validity of the election if he loses. We're now turning our attention back to President Biden's rally in the Motor City. Up next, we're going one-on-one with Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who is with the president all day and is one of his fiercest loyalists. We're going to talk to her coming up on The Pulse. All right, back now on The Pulse, covering President Biden's campaign stop in the Motor City. He had a lot of supporters around him, 1,000 of them to be exact. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell is one of those supporters and a friend who spent much of the day with President Biden. And she joins us now on the phone, and we, of course, always thank you for joining us here. The first time we have you on this new show we call The Pulse. Congresswoman, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Group, it's good to be with you, and I love watching The Pulse, streaming it. So congratulations on the new show.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. Should we be congratulating President Biden on his speech tonight, given the fact that we had such a contrast from just 2 weeks and a day ago when he had that debate debacle? What were your thoughts?
What my thoughts were is that this speech was really laid out what was at stake in November. And I think that, quite frankly, he's got to show the American people, I've been saying this, that he's got the stamina and the strength and the vision to do this job. That's what he's been doing. And the speech itself laid out what is at stake. And when we talk about the Trump Project 2025, people have no idea what is in it, but it spells it out very clearly. Not only does he not think a woman has the right to make her own decisions and brags about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, but he wants to cut Medicare, Social Security. He doesn't want workers to get overtime. There is I could just keep going as to how much he wants to do. He wants to consolidate government under him, make all decisions, and so many things that impact. He wants to eliminate school lunches. He wants to eliminate Head Start. He wants to eliminate the department.
But Congresswoman, I do have a question about this because there's a distinction that needs to be made. Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation is an extremely conservative think tank, and they have a lot of ideas, 1,000 pages thick, that mandate is. I had a chance to read a lot of it. And President Trump basically says, I don't subscribe to all of this. In fact, I call some of what's in there abysmal, and he kind of disavowed it. Do you trust the president on that one?
No. I do not trust Donald Trump. I believe this is the Trump Project 2025. The people that are writing this plan, the people that are running this plan, are all former Trump staffers. They have gone in and done a hit list of people to eliminate from the government. He subscribed to it. I'm in the car, so I don't have it in front of me. I can give you very specific times and places where he supported it. And as more people find out what is in the Trump 2025 project, he knows just the way, because he's been consistent, my friend, he takes credit, takes total credit for one of his biggest achievements, overturning Roe versus Wade. But he knows how American women feel about the government interfering in their right to make their own health care decisions and tries to distance himself at the same time. He doesn't want it in the Republican Party platform.
He's softened.
How can you say that's your biggest achievement and then try to this is what he does. When he knows that people don't like what he's doing, he tries to then say, well, but you can't distance yourself from something you've already said you support.
He has pushed back and has distanced himself quite a bit, even recently telling Fox 2 back in March that he believes it's up to the states to decide, and that's the bottom line. Let's move on because we only have a few minutes here. There's one point that President Biden made during his speech in Detroit tonight where he really drew a contrast between how the media treats Biden and how the media treats Trump. He went on to say that Trump has called Nikki Haley Nancy Pelosi. He's referenced Hannibal Lecter. He's talked about being electrocuted versus being eaten by a shark. All of these things that Trump has said during his rallies, and he basically implied, Biden did, that we're not really focusing as much on Trump's cognitive issues and some of the off-the-rail comments as we should be. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's absolutely fair. And I wish I had come up with the Haley Nancy Pelosi line before he did, but trust me, I am going to use it again because I do believe that we need to be treating them to the same standard. Now we're going to go into the Republican convention next week. We're going to be able to draw this contrast. You know what their theme is on Monday? It's make America wealthy again. Donald Trump wants to cut billionaires' taxes and is not fighting to help lower costs for everyday working men and women. That's what we need to be talking about next week. And I hope that we can get to that point and that the media will treat both of them with the same level. It's fair to give them both scrutiny, but they should both be getting the scrutiny.
Well, Congresswoman, about the economy, though, when we look at this president and inflation, you know, it's hard. It's a hard thing. I went to the White House a few months ago and sat down at a press summit where they said, look, inflation is no longer the issue that it was a few months ago. You tell that to the average American who, today I was on my phone, I talked to a bunch of people, they say they can't afford groceries, they can't afford vacations. Something needs to change with our economy. What is this president and this administration and Democratic congresspeople doing to bring that inflation cost down and to help people afford simple things?
So let me be really clear, and I said this directly to the president. You've got to talk about the economy from now until November. Because, as you know, Roop, I am out and about. Every single moment I can be home, I am home and I'm out and about, and people are worried. But, you know, 16 Nobel economists in the last few weeks have said that Joe Biden has lowered inflation, that his plan will get us there. And the Wall Street Journal, which the president talked about tonight, actually said Trump's plan would increase inflation. So we got to get it. We've got to lower prices, and we got to get at things like price gouging. We've got to, you know, the president called in all of the large retailers and said to them, you got to lower the prices. You're seeing it. We had a report this week. Inflation is going down, but it's not enough. I know. I'm in the grocery store. I'm at Kroger every Sunday morning, and people talk to me, and I buy my groceries, and I know what my bill is. So we got to keep addressing it, and we got to talk about it.
He needs to address it, and it needs to come down. Those prices do quickly, because if he wants to be reelected, people are voting with their pocketbooks. You've always said that. We all know that. I think the president knows that as well, and so does Donald Trump. I want to ask you one last question about how we saw the president show up today. I'm going to ask you a very honest question, and you're always honest with me, so give me an honest answer. What's going on when we see so many different versions of the same person? I feel like the debate 2 weeks ago was a totally different person than the person that we saw in North Carolina a couple days later, and now we're seeing a ferocious, fierce, older Biden, but the old Biden that we were used to seeing years ago. So what's going on here?
So I'm going to be very direct with you. And that is, I don't know what went out the night of the debate. I didn't sugarcoat it. It wasn't a good performance. And I said very directly, Joe Biden's got to go out and talk to the American people, not donors, not media, the American people, and show them he's got the stamina to do the job, that he will do the job, what his vision is. He's doing that now. He's working hard, and he's got to, all the things somebody said to me, Debbie, all the things in the world that you say aren't going to convince people. It's got to be Joe Biden.
Sure.
He did it in North Carolina. He certainly was strong tonight. We all have bad days. So clearly the debate night was like probably one of his worst days for performance. But you know, we've seen, like the speech tonight, I think he laid out what's at stake in November.
It'll be interesting to see how this resonates with those who are defectors within the Democratic Party. I know there are more who support him that don't in your party, but at the same time, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out after a big speech here in Motown. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, always great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thank you.
And still ahead, we are shifting our focus to the other side of the ticket because next week is a huge week for Republicans. What will happen at the RNC in Milwaukee and what still needs to be decided? We're taking the pulse next. Welcome back to The Pulse, covering all things people, power, and politics. You know, as Republicans gear up for their nominating convention in Milwaukee next week, one big name will make a rare public appearance. Former First Lady Melania Trump. Mrs. Trump has pretty much stayed off the campaign trail as her husband continues his bid for the White House. It's not clear tonight if she'll give a speech or have any formal role at the event, but she will be there. You know, she hasn't attended several major events recently, nor did she attend former President Trump's New York hush money trial. All right, it has been 4 years since we've covered one of these, 8 since it's been in person. Time for a deep dive at what you can expect at the convention next week. The nearly 2,400 delegates will need to approve a platform and formally designate their presidential ticket. In this case, Trump and whoever he chooses as his vice presidential running mate. The VP candidate will be speaking on Wednesday. Trump will close things out on Thursday. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, and yeah, you remember this guy. We're talking about Florida Senator Marco Rubio. They're the most mentioned finalists for Veep, and some of them have actually admitted that they're in the running. They've been talked to. Trump says he'd like to withhold his pick until the convention, but admits the idea frustrates his campaign staffers. But all three of these guys are expected to address the delegates. By the way, some of Michigan's finest will head to Milwaukee next week to help make sure the convention is safe and secure. 35 Michigan State Police troopers will be there to help make sure that the crowd is good and really kind of help with management and security of the event. They also worked the RNC in 2016. I was there in 2016 in Cleveland. It was an exciting time then. You better believe it's going to be another exciting one this year. And finally tonight, House Republicans are trying to protect against something that's already, well, illegal. You see, they passed a bill that would require people to show proof of citizenship when registering to vote. That bill passed mostly along party lines and likely won't get through the Senate. But here's the deal. It's already a felony for non-citizens to register to vote in federal elections. And research shows cases of that are pretty rare. They also can't vote in state elections. But if fuels a claim by former President Trump, the Democrats encourage the surge of migrants so they can register them to vote. And with that, we vote to start the weekend. We hope you have a good one and enjoy it. That is the Pulse for tonight. Week 1 under our belts. We're so excited about this. Feel free to reach out to me on email, social media. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you, good or bad. Your comments could be read right here. I'm Rup Raj. Have a great weekend.